Did you just get a new Mac? Or maybe you've had one for a while and you're not sure what the best settings are. Stick around, I've got you covered. I'm Dylan Stewart, the Mac Whisperer, and in this lesson, I'm going to teach you all of the things that I change on a new Mac to make it work perfectly for me. There's tons of default settings that Apple puts onto a new computer, and some of them are awesome, and some of them are terrible. So in this lesson, I'm going to cover all of the best settings. Stick around until the end of the video to catch my MacWhisperer Power Tip. Your Mac will thank you for it. The first thing that we're going to do is take a trip over to System Settings. You can do that either by coming up to your Apple menu here and going to System Settings, or coming right down to the dock and clicking it here. Once you're inside of System Settings, there's a lot of things that we need to change. But the first one that I change is to come down to the trackpad and turn off this super annoying tap to click function. Tap to click means that the slightest touch on your trackpad is the same as a click, which means that you may accidentally click things all over the place. I know I can't function with it on, so it's the first thing I go and turn off. You may not have a trackpad, you may have a mouse, and there's a couple of settings I like to change on the mouse as well. Let's come over to the mouse setting here and let's turn on secondary click. Secondary click is what's also known as a right click, and it's super powerful. If you want to learn more about how to use the right click, check out this video up here. Once I've got those things turned off and on, I'm free to do some of the other changes that I like. The next thing I do is come over to Desktop and Dock. This settings section has so many powerful tools, but some of the default ones are a little dumb. Down here where it says Desktop and Stage Manager show items on desktop, there's this little setting that's new to Sonoma that says click wallpaper to reveal desktop. What that means is if you click on your desktop, everything disappears, which can be really helpful when done intentionally. But because it's a new setting and I have other ways to hide my windows, I turn that off. So you come to where it says click wallpaper to reveal desktop and you change that to only in Stage Manager. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit further on this settings list, and as we come down into mission control, there's a couple of things I like to change here. First off, I come into hot corners and I make sure nothing but quick note is turned on. You can use hot corners by going into the top corners or the bottom corners to trigger things. Some people like to do it to start the screensaver. Some people like to do it to hide all the windows. I want to make sure all of these are turned off because I use all my corners. The finder's down here, the trash is over here, notifications are over here, and the Apple menu's over here. So when hot corners are activated, I have a nasty tendency of accidentally hiding windows and turning on screensavers when I didn't really mean to. Let's click done here. Now down below here, there's a little setting that says shortcuts. And inside shortcuts, it allows you to choose how you want to show the desktop. The default setting is F11, which is fine, except not all keyboards have an F11 button. So I come down here and I change it to the right option button. That means when I click the right option button, it hides my windows, and it's very hard to do that by accident. Next thing I do is come down to the keyboard setting here. Inside the keyboard setting, I want to make sure I've turned dictation on. I use dictation all the time, so to have it deactivated as a default is a little dumb. I'm going to click on enable here to turn it on, and then down below here it's going to ask what your shortcut is, and it defaults to the microphone key, which is great if you've got a microphone key, which not all keyboards do. I change it to the right command key twice. That means a quick double click on the right command key will turn on dictation, and I can start to speak and have my words written down so that I'm not having to do it with the keyboard. Then I come up to our Apple ID and I go into iCloud, and I click on iCloud Drive and I make sure that the desktop and documents folders are turned on. This means that your desktop and document folder on this computer will synchronize with iCloud, which is really helpful because it means you can get all your files from your desktop or document on your phone and iPad without changing any other settings. Now I'm going to come over to the left and find my Touch ID and password. If you use Touch ID, which I do, you can add more than one finger to it, which can be really helpful because you can add your thumb and your forefinger or your left finger and leave all of these things checked except for this one here. Use Touch ID for autofilling passwords. There is a built-in system on Safari that will autofill your passwords based on the keychain. But if you have that setting turned on, it requires you to put your fingerprint down every time you want to log in, which is just exhausting and unnecessary. They'll ask for you to put your password in and then click on lock, and now that setting's turned off, which means when you're in Safari and you're on a website and you want to log in, you can just log in and don't need your fingerprint to get involved at all. And one of the other settings that I strongly recommend you change is under this appearance setting inside of System Settings. And it's this little section that says Show Scroll Bars. So I definitely want to have that turned on. And the last stop in the settings section is under the Control Center here. The Control Center is this little icon on the right side of your menu bar. It's very helpful because it hides a bunch of other settings so you don't need to clutter your whole menu bar up. But some of the default settings eliminate things that I need to see on a regular basis. So by coming into the System Setting Control Center, you can make a couple of changes. For example, I want focus to always show. That means I can easily turn on or off Do Not Disturb from my menu bar with one click rather than hunting around inside of the control panel to do it. The next setting I change is the sound setting. People have been trained to go up to the menu bar, but it's not easy to go there anymore for the sound, especially if you need to change audio from a headphone to your computer or something like that. By coming in here and turning it on to always show in the menu bar, it shows up right here and I can easily change the output or adjust the sound without having to click on the control panel. And there's just a couple of other quick things I like to change in this section. The first one, under battery, I like to see the percentage of the battery. That helps me know exactly how charged it is, so if I'm going on a trip, I'm not guessing I think it's full. Makes it much easier. And if I come down just a little bit more, you'll see this section for Time Machine. Time Machine is the built-up backup functionality of your computer. And if you don't have it turned on, it can be really hard to figure out where those settings are, so I like to turn that one on as well. The next place I make changes is inside of the Finder settings. Come to the Finder menu here, you can go to the Settings option. In general, I like to see the hard drives and connected servers right on my desktop so I don't have to hunt around for them. And secondly, I can't stand the Recent section, so I'm going to change that to my desktop or maybe my Documents folder or Dropbox. But it means that when I open a new Finder window, it goes to where I want it to go instead of going to this relatively useless Recent section. If you're using Recents to find everything on your computer, you need to do a little bit of a cleanup so that you actually know where files are, because Recents can't really be organized. It's just this collection of things you've clicked on or utilized recently, and that's not really an effective way to organize or sort things. And the next thing I do is I come over to the Sidebar section here. This left sidebar that you see here is what we're referencing. So as I come into the Sidebar section of the Finder preferences, the first thing I do is I turn off Recents, because as I just discussed, it's useless if you have your things filed and sorted properly. The other things that are on here are pretty smart. I don't think you should have music or pictures on there. If you still do, you should turn that off. It's just not really how we sort those particular tools, but I do like having my home folder on there. The home folder is where all of your personal files exist, and it's designated by this little house icon. Inside of the home folder, you'll have your downloads and movies, music, pictures, and some other files. I use this as a centralized location to store some of my most important documents. Coming down here, I check this thing that says hard disks. This means that on the left side where it shows locations, your actual hard drive will show up. Some people have the computer itself turned on, but when the computer is turned on, it makes it a two-step process to get to your hard drive, which I use all the time. So I disable that, but I leave the hard drive itself turned on, and I leave everything else turned on in this section. Then in the Advanced section, on the far right side, I come in and I have it show file name extensions. This means that if it's a JPEG or a PDF or a Word document, the title's always going to show that so that I don't have to guess about it. Then I'm going to unclick Show Warning before removing from iCloud Drive. That setting means that when you move something off your desktop or your Documents folder, which are connected to iCloud Drive as we did a few moments ago, it warns you, oh my gosh, you're gonna remove that. I'm just moving it over. I'm not deleting it, so it's a really unnecessary and distracting setting, so I always turn that off. Then I turn on the remove items from the trash after 30 days so that I don't forget to empty the trash periodically. And once that's done, I have the ability to customize my sidebar a little bit. For example, I like the desktop and the documents folders to be right in my favorite section at the top so I don't have to hunt around for them. And if there's a folder that I use frequently, I'll take it out of wherever it's located, like inside of my home folder, and drag it over to the sidebar here so I can get access to it with just a single click. You should put all your most used folders on the sidebar because the sidebar makes it easy to get into and out of almost any folder, as opposed to hunting around and clicking in a number of places to get to the folders you use the most. And the last setting that I change from the Finder that I find super helpful is under the View menu, and it's this thing down here that says Show Status Bar. This adds a little bar at the bottom of your windows that will tell you how many files are there, how big they are, and any information you need. So as soon as I come into any file like this, I can see, oh, there's 6 items here. And if I go into a subfolder here, it'll show me exactly what's in that folder and allow me to know how much storage space I've got on my computer at any given time, making it super easy for me to, from a bird's eye view, know how many files are in a specific folder or how much storage space I've got left. And there's one more place I make significant changes, and that's inside of Safari. Safari has some really good built-in defaults, but it's also got some not so good ones. So we're going to fix the not so good ones by coming up to the Safari menu at the top and going right into Settings. The first thing I do is change my file download location. I'm not a big fan of using the Downloads folder because it's like sticking stuff under the rug. You tend to forget it's there, and most people end up leaving a ton of stuff in their Downloads folder rather than cleaning it up regularly. So I come in and I change this directly to my desktop. That means whenever I download something from Safari, I don't have to look for it. It's right in front of me on the desktop, making it easy to find, easy to file, and easy to delete when I'm done with it. That way I don't have a ton of clutter stored up in my Downloads folder that I've regularly got to sort through, file, and deal with. It's already handled because it's right on my desktop. In addition to that, I changed the Remove Download List items to manually. This means if I downloaded something yesterday, I can still track it down from the Downloads icon on the top right side of Safari. When it's set to something like after 1 day, when Safari quits, or upon successful download, the Downloads icon will disappear regularly, and if you need to get back to something, good luck. You've got to remember where you put it, and God forbid you put it in the Downloads folder. There might be 3, 4, 5,000 other things in there, and you'll usually just end up re-downloading it, which is part of why I don't like the Downloads folder. In addition to that, under New Windows Open With, I change it from Start Page to Home Page. The Start Page is a basic page that you can customize and add your favorites or a privacy report, get suggestions, or see other tabs that are open on other devices. It's a useful thing to have, it's just not something I use often enough to start off my browser. So I changed the home page, and I generally change it to Google. This is an easy, simple page where you can do a search or anything else you want to do with Google right from that front page, which simplifies things. You can also change it to Yahoo or to any other website that you want to start off with. But for me, when I get started on Safari, I've got things to do. And the most common thing I do is start with a search, usually on Google. I then let the new tabs open with Start Page, and I leave that alone because I'm fine with the Start Page when I'm working. I just don't want it when I first start. And then I head over to the Website tab right here. There's a couple of things that I insist on changing right off the bat because they drive me crazy. And one of them is the Downloads section. Under Downloads, the default says when visiting other websites, ask. What does that mean? Well, it means that every time you download a file, Safari will say, would you like to allow this file to get downloaded? Yeah, that's why I clicked download. Why should I be asked twice on that? So I changed this from ask to allow for all websites, which means it never bugs me about that silly question ever again. And then I come down to notifications. Notifications is a really problematic section. There's a lot of malicious websites on the internet, and they use this setting here to get access to your computer, delivering notifications that may tell you you've got a virus when you don't, that may tell you you're out of storage space when you aren't. Because notifications just pop right up on your screen, they can give them a nice icon that makes it look like it's Safari or Apple or your settings section that's talking to you when it's really these websites. So to prevent that from happening, I turn off allow websites to ask for permission. You can individually change that setting on specific websites like Gmail if you need notifications. And one of the last things I'll do with Safari is I'll come up to my toolbar here and I'll customize the toolbar. There's all sorts of options that exist on the toolbar, not all of which I want. So from this section, I can remove anything that I don't need and add things that I do want, like an easy way to get to the start page. This section allows you to change all sorts of things, including the font size of text, which is super helpful, and that's what those settings are. And then the dead last thing I do on Safari is I come into the View menu and I click Show Favorites bar, which is going to allow me to see my bookmarks front and center. And if you've watched some of my other videos, I use the bookmarks bar all the time. If you want a little more information about how to use the bookmarks bar to be really organized, check out this video over here. And then I'm done with Safari and I can come up to the Safari menu and I can just quit it. Now in just a moment, I'm going to deliver my MacWhisperer Power Tip. And trust me, you don't want to miss this one because this has saved me hours and hours of struggle and work. And I really love it. I'm excited to share it with you guys. But before I do you have a comment, a question, you need some clarification on something, or maybe you completely disagree with one of the settings that I talked about here? Drop down in the comments section and let me know. I'm always happy to hear from you guys, even if we have differing opinions. And while you're down there, hit that thumbs up button so other people can find this video and set up their Mac properly too. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, it's time! Go subscribe. There's lots of great information here and I don't want you to miss out on any of it. So with that being said, let's get into the Power Tip. To me, the most valuable part of the computer is this bar down at the bottom, which is called the dock. It gets misutilized by people all the time, including Apple. So there's certain things that I recommend changing. And the first thing I want you to do is look at every single app down here and ask yourself whether you actually need it or not. Now, before we go changing those, I'm going to open up my hard drive here and click onto my Macintosh hard drive, and I'm going to drag this Applications folder over to the right side here. On the right side of the dock, you can store folders or documents that you frequently access, like maybe even my writing folder. When you put a folder down in the dock, its default view is to show you the contents of the folder. That's why we see this red hand down here. So I'm going to right click on that application folder and I'm going to say display as folder instead. And now it's got the little A for the application folder. I'm going to right click on it again and view the contents as a list. This means by one single click, all of my applications are accessible here, which means that I'm now free to come over to the dock and start deleting things that I don't need. And don't worry, if you remove something from the dock, you're not actually deleting it. You're just removing the shortcut because all of the applications live here, which makes it easy for me to come through and change things. The first thing I change is the Launchpad. This is the Launchpad. It's a very cluttered view that's supposed to give you access to all of your applications, but there's no easy way to organize it. It's not alphabetical, it's just a mess. So that's one of the first things I remove because I've already added the Applications folder here, which essentially serves the same purpose. Then I come across and I remove Maps if I'm not using it. I remove FaceTime if I don't create a lot of FaceTime calls from my computer. I'll remove Apple TV if I don't watch videos. I'll remove News if I don't have a subscription to it. I'll get rid of Keynote and Numbers and Pages. When you're removing something, all you have to do is lift it off the dock and you'll see it says remove right here, and when you release it, it disappears. But again, don't worry, all those things are right here. If I want to get back into Pages, there it is. If I want to get back into Numbers, there it is. So the purpose of the dock is for the things you're using most frequently. If those things aren't there, get rid of them and make sure to put your Applications folder and any other important folders on the right side of the dock for easy access. And that's what I've got for this lesson about how to set up a new Mac the MacWhisperer way. I hope you got some great value and learned some great tips. I'm Dylan Stewart, the MacWhisperer, and it's my passion and profession to help you get more done with your Apple products than you ever thought possible. And I will see you next time. Hey everyone, it's Dylan here. Did you learn something cool and fun in this lesson? If you love learning about Apple products, I've got a great opportunity for you. Starting next month, I have a live course that I'm offering called the iPhone MasterClass. It's an awesome course that will teach you everything you need to know about the iPhone, whether you're a newbie or a veteran. It'll teach you great troubleshooting tips and how to work the iPhone like a master. If you'd like to join the course, drop into the description section down below. There's a link there, and if you act quick, there might even be a discount in it for you. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.